You finish the work. The calls are done, your emails are answered, your to-do list is as cleared as it's ever going to get, and you sit down to finally rest, and within minutes, the guilt starts. I should be doing something. Maybe I should be further ahead. Other people might be working harder than this. So you pick your phone back up, you check your inbox again, you find something to optimize, because rest without productivity attached to it doesn't feel like rest. It feels like falling behind. If that's familiar, I want you to know something. This is a common problem, and it is burning business owners out. And this is something that you can change. Here's the simplest way I can put this. You find it hard to rest because you've confused rest with being unproductive, and you've confused being unproductive with being unworthy. Everything I'm about to share in this video is going to unpack that one sentence. I want to tell you something that changed the entire way that I run my business. I'm a mom to two littles. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. I run my household and I run my business. My kids go to school and that's my window. That's it. Logically, it makes no sense for me to rest during their school hours. Those are my working hours. Every minute counts. Every hour needs to be accounted for. Or so I thought. And yet, one of the most productive things that I ever did in my business was learn how to rest. Most mornings now, I start my workday with a walk. It's just me, my dogs, nature, and my thoughts. No podcast, no audiobook, no music, just walking, just silent. And what I've noticed since making this non-negotiable is that I'm more focused, more creative, calmer, and more productive in the hours that follow. Rest hasn't shrunk my capacity. It has actually expanded it. My ability to create, to think clearly, to receive ideas, all of it is increased when I stopped treating rest as a thing that I had to earn at the end of the day. That walk is not lost time. That walk is the work. And if you're someone who only has a limited window to build something, this is even more true for you. You cannot afford to spend your working hours running on empty. You cannot think your best thoughts, make your best decisions, or show up as the version of yourself in your business when your nervous system has never been given permission to calm down. But why is this so hard to do? Because most of us were never taught that rest is productive. We were taught through experience, through achievement, through programming and evidence that our output equals our worth. That taking a step back means that you will fall behind. That is what most of us are programmed to believe. And here's where it gets costly, because this isn't just a feeling. This impact is real and it compounds. Research shows that sustained focus without genuine recovery doesn't maintain performance, it actually degrades it. The kind of thinking that actually moves your business forward, the creative problem solving, strategic clarity, the instinct that tells you what to say yes to, that doesn't come from grinding harder. It comes from a mind that has been allowed to reset. It comes from a regulated nervous system. Research also shows that chronic low-grade busyness, the kind where you're always on, always available, always half working, elevates stress hormones in a way that affects your mood, your sleep, your decision-making, and over time, your health. You don't have to be dramatically burning out to be paying this price. It accumulates quietly in the background while you're being productive. And then there's the cost that lands hardest with the entrepreneurs that I work with, and that's the identity cost. When your sense of self is built on what you produce, so rest doesn't just feel unproductive. It feels like evidence that you're not driven enough, not committed enough, not worthy of the results that you want. So even when rest happens, it doesn't restore you because you spend it in guilt rather than in recovery. You're not resting wrong. You've just never been given real permission to rest right. Here's what I want you to sit with. The version of you who's burning out, who's exhausted but still pushing, who is productive but not actually moving. The version is not your most powerful version of yourself. That version is running on fumes that's that you're calling discipline. The version of you who rests, who protects recovery the way they protect revenue, that version does and holds more. And it's not because you're working less. It's because you're working from a full cup instead of an empty one. Rest is not the reward at the end of the work. Rest is part of what makes the work possible. And the belief that you have to earn it first, that is not a productivity strategy. That's worth tied to output. And your worth was never supposed to be conditional on what you produce today. Here's where to start, and this is simpler than you think. I want you to identify one moment, that you're currently filling with something that isn't actually necessary. Maybe it's the scroll between tasks, the email check that happens out of habit rather than need, or the podcast that you're listening to on the walk. You know, the one where you're just consuming more information that you're not actually going to act on. Now, protect that moment as recovery, not as a reward, not as something that you'll allow yourself once the list is done. It's a non-negotiable part of how you perform. Start there. So not with the whole morning routine or a full digital detox, just one moment reclaimed. Because here is what I know to be true, and research backs this up. The capacity to rest is not separate from the capacity to build something great. It is part of it. You find it hard to rest because you've confused rest with being unproductive and being unproductive with being unworthy. The work is untangling that, and it starts today. If this resonated, I've linked my No BS guide to change a habit in the description. It'll help you actually implement this shift and not just understand it. And for more on how your identity and sense of worth are running your business behind the scenes, watch this next video on creating sustainable success, because you cannot outperform your beliefs about what you deserve. And if someone in your world needs to hear this today, send it to them. Sometimes the most generous thing we can do is hand someone the mirror.